Hey everyone, happy 2025. I thought I'd send out a quick video giving you a forecast of what we believe will happen in 2025 with regard to real estate and mortgage interest rates. So before I begin though, I do want to give credit where credit is due. MBS Highway and specifically Barry Habib, who owns that company, they put out amazing material, and this is the material that I'm going to share with you today. He is an expert in the industry, and it's somebody that I've been following for years and years, actually on a daily basis. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and share with you my or our predictions based on MBS Highway's predictions for 2025. So, first of all, let's talk about the Fed and how that plays into things. Remember, the Fed is a group of people that meets to decide what the federal funds rate is, and what that means is what banks borrow from each other. It doesn't directly affect the mortgage interest rate, but it definitely indirectly affects it. And there's a tendency as those rates get cut, interest rates also go down for the mortgage business. So let's just look at this graph with the federal funds members. So currently the federal funds rate is 4.375. Again, that's not the mortgage interest rate. There's one member, and that's indicative of this one dot, that believes that that is not going to move at all this year. There are three members that believe that there's going to be one Fed cut, bringing it down to 4.125, which is obviously a 0.25% or 25 basis point reduction. And there are 10 members that believe that there's going to be two of those in 2025. MBS Highway, on the other hand, believes that there's going to be four of those, which would be 100 basis points rather than 50 basis points in a reduction in the rate, which definitely will help mortgage interest rates. So why do they believe that? The main reason is that they believe that unemployment is actually going to go up. In other words, they think that the economy is not as strong as what the Fed members think. Now, most of the Fed members, in fact, 14 of them, believe that the unemployment will remain somewhere in the 4.2 to 4.3 range. And MBS Highway believes that if there's any reduction in that, just a little slight increase in unemployment, then these Fed members are going to be surprised and they will have to do something about it, which would be lowering the federal funds rate. And again, if there's even more of a movement, somewhere between the 4.6 to 4.7%, then they would probably have to act even, stronger with rate cuts. So that's the main reason. Let's look at inflation. I don't want to get too far in the weeds of inflation and how that plays into things, but remember this, inflation is the bad guy. Inflation is terrible for mortgage interest rates. And the higher that inflation goes, the worse mortgage interest rates are. MBS Highway, and we believe that that's going to be in check. And the main reason, without again getting too far into the weeds with course, PCE and all that and everything that goes along with that. The main reason is they believe that the cost of housing is actually coming down in the rental markets. It's different for if you own your property, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the main reason they believe that is just simply showing this graph here that monthly shelter readings in the PCE are actually decreasing, which means that the core PC is overstated. All right, so let's just look at the labor market in a little more detail and what that could possibly mean. So this graph clearly shows that unemployment is rising. This graph here shows that the time it takes for folks to get back to work is actually increasing. And this graph here shows several big companies that have closed their doors that has not yet hit the unemployment numbers, because it takes a long time, when someone closes their doors in order for everybody to get laid off. But these are big companies. If you can see here, just for example, Walgreens, that's not 1,200 employees, that's 1,200 stores with I don't know how many employees, but these are big numbers that are going to hit the unemployment. So when that happens, there is a belief that inflation will come down and it will have a positive effect on mortgage interest rates. The other thing, this graph here clearly shows that job openings are definitely declining. So there's less jobs in the marketplace, less opportunity for people to get employed. So 2025 forecast for mortgage interest rates. Again, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds of how these are determined. Bottom line is it's anticipated that the mortgage interest rates, for the reasons that we just stated, should go somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.875 in 2025. And remember, right now they're high sixes, low sevens, so that's about a percentage point decrease. So that would be good news for us in the mortgage business, also real estate business, and also for the consumer for lower interest rates. So what is the forecast for real estate itself? Well, it's a simple supply and demand issue. There's an anticipation that the prices of houses are not going to go down, so appreciation is going to continue. And the main reason is that there's just more people now than there were before. So this graph shows you in 2018, there's actually 12 million more people and there's less housing for sale. So simple supply and demand says that prices are going to continue to rise just because there's more demand and less supply. This graph here shows you an even clearer picture of that the demand is 1.9 million and the supply is 1.2 million. So that will just indicate that prices would continue to climb. So the real estate forecast for 2025 is that there'll be approximately 4% year over year gain, which is quite nice for real estate. And on a $500,000 home, that is over $20,000 gain. If you look at that on a 5-year cumulative, that could be as much as $150,000 to $175,000 appreciation in your home after you purchase it. So that is obviously good news. So final recap from MBS Highway in the forecast, so home appreciation somewhere in the 4 to 4.5% appreciation. That inflation will be somewhere in the 2.1 to 2.2%, down from 2.8%. Unemployment rate, they anticipate will go to somewhere in the 4.5 to 4.6, down from 4.2%. The Fed funds rate, they're anticipating that that will also come down somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.25 to 3.5%, and that the mortgage rates will, in turn, because of all of this stuff, also come down and decline down to 5.75 to 6%, down from roughly 7%. So hopefully that helps you guys. As always, please reach out to us with any questions you have, and have a great 2025.